We're living a life based on something that's not true. I did some research when this stronghold made me think of, I had come across this way before about how they train elephants in the circus, in the zoo.
Living their life by something that's simply not true. It's not true, but you've been convinced that it's true. You know how they train elephants?
And when they're training an elephant to stay still for the zoo or the circus, they put a chain around their foot, a stronghold around them, and they put it to something secure, which is why when you see the elephants are always kind of going back like this, because that's how they were trained, because they were trying to get free.
When they first train elephants to stay at a zoo or whatever, they'll put a chain around their ankle, and an elephant just can't be free. And so they kind of just, you've seen them, they kind of just wobble back and forth, staying in that spot.
And so what's funny is they don't always keep the chain on. After a little bit, they swap out the chain with a little tiny rope. That if you see it, when you see it, you're like, oh my God, if he gets angry, he's gonna kill everybody. He could easily snap that. What in the world's going on? Yeah, but he thinks the chain is still there.
But once they've done that for a while, they can put the smallest rope, a rope that they could snap with half their effort. If you ever gone to a zoo or something, you'll see this tiny little rope. You're thinking, that can't hold that elephant back. But he thinks the chain is there.
He could break free, but he doesn't know he could break free.
And because he thinks the chain is there, he can break free, but he doesn't know he can break free.
I was preparing this week about the story. I don't know if you remember the story of the Elizabeth Smart story. And if you don't know about it, it was a crazy. They actually have a documentary about it right now that's on. And Elizabeth Smart was the 14-year-old girl who was abducted from her home in Salt Lake City at knife point.
Started watching a documentary of the Elizabeth Smart story. I don't know if you saw that. Powerful. It's an unbelievable story. Kind of hard to watch because this little 14-year-old girl in Salt Lake City was abducted from her home in the middle of the night by knife point.
Literally kidnaps her and forces her to be his wife, and also forces her to, they live in a tent commune out in the middle of nowhere, wilderness, outside the city, for 9 months.
Took her to be his wife and lived in a tent for 9 months.
He got so confident in his stronghold, in his brainwashing, that David Mitchell would take Elizabeth Smart, this beautiful 14-year-old girl, out in public. Had completely trained her. Now, of course, he would put her into disguise and decorate it a little bit because everybody was looking for them. There's even a story that she now, in her story later, she remembers they went to the public library.
He gained the confidence to bring her out into the public. He had her veiled, put something over her face and eyes so she couldn't be recognized. And they walked literally through town. In fact, there was one time where they were in a library.
A detective goes up to their table and asks David Mitchell, hey, here's a picture of this girl. Have you seen her?
A police officer walked up to David Mitchell and said, hey, we're looking for this little girl. Have you seen her?
As a matter of fact, she would tell you, she said, I didn't say anything because I was convinced that if I spoke up and said, I'm her, I'm the girl you're looking for, she was convinced that David had the ability to kill everybody in the library. And here's the kicker, he wasn't even carrying a weapon.
But she was convinced at that point that if she said, I'm her, which at that moment, she'd have been totally free, her nightmare would have been over. But she was convinced that still that man had the ability to kill everybody in the library. He wasn't even carrying a weapon.
She's 2 feet from her deliverance. Listen to me, don't miss this. She's 2 feet from her deliverance, yet she's so far away because she refuses to say something.
But she said nothing, even though she was literally feet away from her deliverance.
And when I read that, I was like, light bulb. I was like, how many of us? You come to church every single Sunday. We raise our hands. We sing the songs every single time. We're so close to our deliverance, but yet we will never, ever truly be free.
When I saw that, I thought, that's exactly what people go through. You're literally a few steps away from your deliverance.
You need to hear this. Come on, look at my eyes. Don't let me lose you. You need to know that Satan does have power, but he has no authority.
Hold on, listen to me. Look in my eyes and hear this. The devil has power, but he has no authority.